Alrighty then, let's talk a little bit more about the torsion spring effect of the yellow bar on the MFI indicator. And as we mentioned before, the yellow bar on the MFI indicator represents a balancing or equilibrium of forces between the buyers and the sellers. And each yellow vertical line you see on this chart marks where the market was fought, or the market battle was fought to a draw. And but now let's talk about this torsion spring effect and see if we can see it play out on our chart. Okay, when we look at the torsion spring effect, let's start with this bar. Okay, this bar is pretty evenly balanced also when we look at the length of the tails on the bar, and this is a torsion bar. And when we have a torsion bar, whichever way price springs out of, that is the release of that torsion or that spring tension, and price will usually continue in the direction of the release of the power of the tension in that bar. For instance, this bar broke down through our spring here and continued down. This bar broke down through our spring and continued down. This bar broke up through our spring and continued up. This bar broke down through our spring and continued down. And when we talk about continuing down, we're talking about for the next 2 or 3 bars or to the next support or resistance level. And we see here that this bar broke below our torsion spring here, but see on this bar it broke and there was so much power. And that's another thing. If it's a doji bar and it's a torsion bar, a torsion spring bar, and it's a doji, it's usually going to have more power, because the smaller the area that the volume is compressed into, that's the same as think of it like the tighter you push down on the spring, the more power it's going to have on the release. So think of that doji bar as the spring being squeezed almost to the limit, and then explosively the spring is released and the power is explosive. Now this one took us down substantially, and it was a breakout of this low here. And but I'm telling you that so you know why it didn't necessarily continue, because it went pretty much the full distance on the single bar, on the bar that broke through the tension. We'll call this the release bar. We'll see here this bar sprung up above this torsion bar and price continued up, and you can see basically on down the line how these progressively play out. And so this is just another way to use the MFI indicator, and I'm telling you it gets even better. But you can see now how when we know how to interpret what's going on from a trading standpoint, from a real world trading standpoint, using this MFI indicator, there are things that we can do with it that will totally change your trading career. And there is no one, and I mean no one else out there that you're going to find who's showing you how to really interpret the MFI indicator and how to employ it in your trading strategies. So next we'll talk a little bit about the no interest bars and on the MFI indicator and how they represent the natural flow. But for right now, you get the idea on the even MFI indicator that it's a torsion bar, and when the spring is released, you can anticipate price going in the direction of the release for a couple of bars or to the next support or resistance level, whichever is closer. So we'll end this now on torsion spring. And now, the natural flow of the market. The natural flow of the market is what occurs when there are no buyers and no sellers in the market at that time. So there's really no weight being, for instance, think of it like there's no weight being added or subtracted to the flotation device that we have in the water. And so with the red MFI indicator, the vertical red lines on the chart show the places where we have the red MFI indicator. And when we have no interest or no weight being added or subtracted to the flotation device, then the market is going to take its natural flow. For instance, on this no interest bar, we have a down bar, so the natural inclination of the market at this point is to fall. Here we have an up bar. The natural inclination of the market is to rise. So when you see that red bar and the market is rising, it's going to rise until something stops it. It's going to have to hit resistance on the way up to stop it, or we're going to have some type of operator intervention to change the direction. And this is why many times after a red bar you will often see a blue bar, and that's the operators taking control of the market as it's floating down on the no interest bar or floating up on the no interest bar. And for instance, let's look at this bar. Okay, we're red and it's up strongly, and this tells us that the market is likely to continue because with no participants, the natural flow is to go up. And think of it like we have that rubber ball we talked about in the Archimedes principle, where we have our flotation device and we just release it. We let it go out of our hands. Which way is it going to go? Is it going to go up or is it going to go down? Well, if it floats up, then we know that it's going to keep floating up until something stops it. If it starts sinking down, then we know it's going to sink down until something stops it. And once again, in terms of the market, that something is going to be a support or resistance level, or it's going to be operator intervention. We see here the market wants to go down. Wants to go up again, and this next bar is an operator bar and took us down. So we hadn't quite come down here yet to this support level, and so the operators jumped in and helped it down to the support level, where they then started to accumulate their long positions. And again, we look here, and just to give you an idea how we'll start putting things together later. Okay, we have a no interest bar, and the inclination of the market was down. Okay, but the next bar we have a coiled spring. So we know that, okay, whichever way price breaks out of this coiled spring is the most likely the direction we want to go. And then this bar here is an operator bar, but it's a strong bar. They were buying on this bar. So we have operators buying here, we have a coiled spring here. And so now, since the operators are buying, we can anticipate price breaking out up through this coiled spring to go with where the operators are trying to take the market. And this bar did break out of the coiled spring and did continue up. And so here what we did was we put a couple of our concepts together to determine which way the market was going to go. And we'll be once again get deeper into that later, and we can get even better and better with our analysis. So we've got a good understanding now of the natural flow of the market as indicated by the MFI indicator, the natural flow.